right, so take two. All right. All right. Welcome back, everyone. How are you? This is my second time doing this, but I didn't get too far. So we're working with reoccurring theme, assumption versus validation, which is great because I assumed I was recording just to find out later that the mic was not on. So it was validated, okay? But I didn't get too far. So again, assumption versus validation. So what we're talking about here is assuming versus knowing, or at least not knowing, because we all have a sense of knowing. So validation means you have confirmation on what you know. So assuming is you're making a judgment, an egoic judgment call based on what's done in the past and what you don't want or want to happen in the future. You're making a judgment call based on that in the present. And that's what an assumption is. An assumption is a bias judgment based off of your ego point of view or stance. So if you don't want something to happen or you want something to happen, you make a judgment call. And it's nothing wrong with assuming, because even an assumption is what your higher self, your all the above. Let's think. Let's take this moment right now to say thank you to E, all the above. You can fill in A through D with whatever you want, whether it's your parents, whether it's God, whether it's the Most High, whether it's Buddha. You can fill that in with whatever you believe in, because whatever you believe in will love to have appreciation. So we're going to take a breath, inhale, and then exhale. And then just take a conscious breath based off of whatever you believe in, okay? Because you would not be here without some powers that's greater than you, so it's great to just give thanks, okay? So when it comes back to validating versus assuming, so your higher self or E, all the above, something out there has to put you on track, okay? And sometimes assumptions are meant for that. It's to get you out of a situation. So assuming isn't necessarily bad when you apply it to yourself, when you apply it to your past and apply it to your present. Okay? Doesn't necessarily mean it will come true, though. And you have to keep that in mind when you are assuming. It's not a fact. It's when you're always assuming and then you implement those assumptions on other people and you don't have any validation based off your assumptions. You continue to assume. I'm going to assume I'm going to hit the lottery with no proof that I'm going to hit. I have no, Lou didn't give you no numbers, Spirit didn't give you no numbers, you didn't have no dreams, I just gonna hit, so I'm gonna play, because I just know I'm gonna hit, and you don't, you just have no inclination, so you're just assuming, or, versus validating, knowing you're gonna hit, like, if someone who works in the lottery business said, hey, play these numbers at this time, like, that's a validation. You have something to go off of, and when you have validation on some of your assumptions, that's when it becomes okay to assume, because you have validations on these assumptions. Even when it comes to other people, if you see someone, if you make an assumption that's not hindering on anyone else, but then you get validated on that assumption, and then it becomes safe to assume the next time. So, like, assuming and validation becomes like a numbers game as far as ratio, chance, probability. Okay, but the thing is, you can't continue to do something like that when you don't have any validation. So that's why it's good to confirm your validations your assumptions with your validations. Okay, now. This is my Fantastic Four spread. I always pull 4 cards. This is one of my favorite spreads that I do. Is what the universe wants you to reach for, what the universe wants you to shield, what the universe wants you to shed light on and what the universe wants you to stay strong on. Now, excuse me. Now, before I get into the cards, one bonus card did pop out, and it was Heart of God. And what I stated earlier, first off, let's talk about how I see a phoenix here. You know, so we got some phoenix energy coming through, some rebirths. And that's almost what an assumption is. When you assume something and then you get that validation from it, it's almost a rebirth, because now you can continue. That's no longer an assumption. You're going based off validation. You have proof of this now. So it's no longer an assumption. An assumption and obtaining validation is like a rebirth, because now you can continue from that standpoint with that assumption. Okay? Just as long as you're not assuming based on your assumption, not limiting anyone else. Okay? So this was a bonus card that jumped out. Now I pulled like 2 cards by accident. But when it comes to the energy that the universe wants you to reach for, we also got God Speaks. Okay, now going back to Heart of God, also when it comes to making assumptions and validating, follow your heart. Okay, that's why I'm being led to say follow your heart, because your heart is going to lead you. Sometimes you need to assume something to get you out of a situation. You don't have any proof that this is going to happen, but the assumption is there so that you prevent that situation. Or it can go the opposite way, and you can assume toward a situation. 1, 2, 3 on the time. So we're going to continue. You know, it's 1:23. So Heart of Gold, going back to assumption, so sometimes assumptions are not correct, but it was what you needed to think or hear, or you know, to get you out of that situation. So that's why you want to keep a Heart of Gold or Heart of God when you're assuming, because eventually when you assume, when you ask those questions, then you're going to get the validation back. So when you assume, the answer that you're looking for is going to come back to you, because you presented that assumption, that question out there, okay? So then we're going to link that to God Speaks now. And God speaks through the assumption and through validation. Because if you don't know something, then where does the assumption come from? How can you make an assumption on something you don't know? You know? Or not? Are you assuming that you know? You know, so where is that coming from? That's when God speaks. He's giving that assumption to you. And then he's going to give the assumption to you. He's going to give the validation to you too. There's confirmation. So you want to reach for an energy of listening to God. And that's following your intuition as well. If your intuition is telling you that you need to get out or get into a situation, or you need to assume something, that's what we're talking about. If your intuition is telling you the assumption could be right for that time, for that period, until you get the validation that you needed, whether it's a confirmation or it's not. Excuse me, confirmation burp right there. And then when I pulled the marble card, okay, in case this, I can't remember if it was the last reading or not. But I am working with the Love Journey deck, Journey of Love deck. And then for clarification, we're using the Marble Tarot deck. And for clarification, we got Reed Richards, which not again, but I love when, because I call it my Fantastic Four spread. So the first card is what the universe wants you to reach for. And then when I grab Mr. Fantastic, which is awesome, because that's what he reaches. Confirmation choke. Excuse me. Professionals don't choke. So, only for confirmation, though. A confirmation that what you're saying is just too big to get out. Oh, man, right there. There we go. But, so, the Emperor is full of masculine energy, okay? So, let me read what it says. It's full of masculine energy. He creates his own rules. Okay, so order. Everything has its place and everyone has their part to play. Like your assumptions. When you assume that could be just the part that needs to be played right there. You need that assumption need to be made for you to progress, or for the universe to continue in that order, you know? The Emperor sees that. Expand upon every facet of your life, your power, your ideas, but have a plan. Stretch beyond your self-imposed limitations. Maybe assuming is a self-imposed limitation. Because when you're assuming something, you're assuming that. You know, that's your mind. That's from yourself. And it's a limitation. Assumptions are limited beliefs because your beliefs aren't based off of something you know. It's not validated. So it's a limitation because it's just based on yourself. And then when you expand past that and you get validated, it's no longer a limitation. Okay? Stretch beyond your self-imposed limitations. Maybe you think playing by the rules gets you nowhere. Know this. Every rule is a framework and guideline for the unseen opportunities within. So an assumption is a framework. It is a guideline because it's a guideline for yourself. Your self-imposes guide for you to assume something and stay in that, you know? Stay in that energy. And you approach everything, you do it with dignity. It evaluates the situation to the highest good, and that's what Reed Richards, the Emperor, requires for a well-run team. Okay. So like I was saying, the Emperor is masculine energy. The masculine energy is that thought idea, okay? Is your thought. So your thoughts are your assumptions, okay? Because that's where the assumption came from. It came from somewhere. It came from your thought. It came from your higher self. It can eat, all the above. It came from, you know, all those places outside of you, which is inside of you, but outside of you, you know? Because it wasn't, you know, when you know, you know. So... okay, so it comes to that thought, okay? That's when you know God speaks. Because it's coming from the inside. It's coming from that space you don't know for sure. You don't know why you're making that assumption. You can make a judgment based off of a situation that you don't know what's going on, but that assumption is still there. Hey, this is not a bad idea. Hey, this is not a good idea. You know, like, that assumption came from somewhere. It came from a place that's outside of you. You know, inside of you, outside of you. Also, what I like, and there's confirmation on that, see how he has something here he's reaching for, and then this light up here, this thing is reaching for, okay? Then we're also going to shout out to the blue, greens, and purples in here, the heart chakra, the crown chakra, and the throat chakra. You know, your heart, ooh, coming from your heart, and then going up, you know, you're reaching for that energy. And then, heart chakra, reminds you we got heart of God. It's coming from this energy, and then reaching up, going through your throat, and then up to your crown. So you follow your heart when you're assuming. And then when you get validation, it ends in your brain. It ends in your crown chakra because the assumption goes through your heart, through your throat, and then like, oh, when it gets validated, it's up here. You know, because you're basing your assumption off of emotion, your heart, off of, you know, the 3D. You're making that assumption off of what you see. You know, that's where the assumption is coming from. Your feminine energy. Now, what energy are we, universe, do you want us to shield? The blood dance. And then we got a 42 down there. So 42 could be significant. The blood dance. So, let's get some clarification on that. What I'm seeing with the blood dance, I'm seeing this yellow light. Again, heart of gold. But the dance part, I'm getting blood. Blood is thicker than water. You know, oil and water don't mix. Blood, water don't mix. But that's what the dance is. Of assuming and validating. It is a dance. It's making safe assumptions. It's assuming based off of you. Now, when you make an assumption and you're assuming for yourself, as long as it's not imposing someone else, or like getting in the way of someone else, then it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's okay if you assume, and seek validation. You know, I want to make an assumption like a hypothesis, an educated guess that you don't have the validation for. But once you get the validation for it, it's no longer a hypothesis. It's no longer an assumption because you have the validation for it. Queen of Wands. Riri Williams is what it looks like. And then we definitely have those reds and yellows here. You see that? Root and solar plexus. Queen of Wands, we have, let's see what the guidebook says about Riri. Alright, Queen of Wands commands respect and attention. A force of nature, she pushes forward toward her goal no matter what. Genius is a fiery mix of intellect and creativity. This queen possesses both. Confident in what she does, she inspires others to do the same. An inventive super genius, Riri Williams forges her own path into unexplored places. She reverse engineered Iron Man's armor to build her own suit of armor, and you too can move forward by sheer force of will. Alright, so I'm back. Alright, so with that being said, thank you. Alright, well, Riri. Now, she reverse engineered, her suit. She's going, she step places where she did herself. Now, when you reverse engineer something, you engineer it backwards, or you figure out how it works on your own. So, when you're assuming new grounds, that's when assumptions are safe to be made, because it's new territory. So when it's new territory, that's when assumptions need to be made, and it's okay to be made. If you're exploring a place that's never been explored before, all you have is your assumptions. And then once you explore it, you ask those questions that's necessary to proceed, and then you will get the answers. When you answer the questions, when you ask the questions, you get the answers, and the answers is your validation. The assumption is your questions. What energy do the universe want us to shed light on? The Temple. All right. So we got masculine, feminine energy. Definitely. This is so cute. Oh my gosh, Lou. Alright, we got masculine, feminine energy here. Queen of Wands is definitely full of energy. Again, we talk about creativity. That's feminine energy at its finest. Reed Richards, he's very smart. Now, these two are very smart. Very smart, okay? And when they're working together, you get very smart. But this is also assumption versus validation. When you are a creator, you create something. When you reverse engineer, you create also, but you're creating something based off of what someone did first. So that masculine energy has the idea, and then this is executing that idea in a different way. Here, we got opposites again. Masculine, feminine energy. This looks more like whimsical, light, not necessarily tangible. And this is red, but it's tangible. It's blood. You know, it's a solid liquid. This is more light. But they're both upreaching, you know. It's both fluid energy. And that's what the masculine, feminine is. It's fluid energy. That exists in the temple. And then you see, watch this. So on this half, we got the reds, feminine energy. And on this side, we got more of the blues, masculine energy. You see how this looks like, okay, if I put it this way, see, those look similar on this half. And then these look similar on this half, these color scheme, and you have the masculine and feminine. But that's the temple. And what's the temple? The temple is your body. And if you look close, there's even, you know, masculine, feminine, you know, presence there, you know, coming together in your temple. Your temple is your brain, your body. So when your assumptions are validated inside your brain, because the root was coming from down below, you know, you feel it in your gut and it goes down up to your heart, and it eventually hits your brain, the crown, past your throat, past the heart, you know, past all that, and then it hits the brain in your temple, and that's when you know you have God speaks in the heart of God. Matter of fact, masculine, feminine energy here also, you know, your heart, feminine energy. Your where you speak from, your brain, masculine energy. In the temple. Clarification, what we have for the temple, we got the X of Cups. We have it in reverse, but let's see, because I might not read reverse depending on how I feel. We got Jeff the land shark. X of Cups, the Ten of Cups, X of Cups. Oh, okay, yeah. So this is definitely being read upright. Alright. Happiness, harmony, and heaven and awe is what the Ten of Cups holds. Jeff the land shark shows that true fulfillment only happens when shared with family and friends. Jeff loves Gwenpool and Deadpool, completely dedicated to his team and adopted home. This little guy swims in a pool of positivity, shining with satisfaction and having everything he ever wanted. Be great for the good in your life. Alright, so be in peace and harmony, okay? Which is what my hat. Which is what this is, you know. When you reach this place in your temple, and both masculine and feminine energy are coexisting together, you have peace and harmony within. That's when you know you made the right assumptions and accumulated the right validations. You made the right assumptions and accumulated the right validations. Not you made the right validations, because you can't make validations. Validations come after you made the assumption. So when you make the right assumptions, then the right validations come after. And when you trust both, your heart and your head, your masculine and your feminine, living together simultaneously in this temple, that's when, you know, you have that complete balance, that harmony, that happiness. See how happy he is? Because he has that balance, you know? Alright, and then what the universe wants to stay strong on? Oh, sacred convergence. Man, okay. So, these energies are growing. It's like you have the masculine, feminine. Masculine, feminine, right? Which leads to harmony inside. And then that's when the secret convergence comes. And that is a sacred convergence. When your two come together. Your masculine and feminine come together. What you assume and what you validate come together. And this reading shows validation of that. You know, you could assume that these masculine and feminine energies work separately. You can assume all you want to with no validation. You see how far that gets you. What is a validation if you didn't assume something? Then what, you know, like, what is it validated if you never assume? But when you assume and validate together, you get that secret convergence. And you see all these energies together. So it's like when you balance in these energies, you find room for more energies. Because you realize it's not just these two energies. You assume, but then you got validation that there's more energies. What's more clarification on this? Nine of Cups. With Domino. And then look. Before I read that, you can see, look, okay. The thumbs up, she's giving it, that's validation right there. She's giving a thumbs up to what I just said. She's validating what I, thank you, Lou. Alright. Nine of Cups. I say nine. Nine of Cups, wishes and dreams come true. With the X of Cups, satisfaction and success cause massive celebration. After a long journey packed with joys and sorrows, emotional, spiritual, and material fulfillment arrives. You kept the faith in yourself. Drink deep from in-between moments, gazing at Domino's luck power as she happy dances between the life chain of impacts and trajectories. Those moments are stepping stones propelling the journey forward. Alright, so when you're assuming the journey is going to be long, because you're assuming. When you assume without validating, the journey is going to be long because you're assuming. When you assume and validate, that's when the journey seems worth it. It don't seem as long because you're getting validation on what you're assuming. And then what I was reading also is wishes and dreams. An assumption is like a wish because whether you're assuming something in a positive way, auspiciously, or you're assuming something negatively, suspiciously, you are assuming that for a reason, so you want that to happen. I'm assuming something bad's going to happen, so I'm going to avoid that. Otherwise, you assume something bad happened and then something good happened, so then you're mad because you made the wrong assumption. But that's what happens when you assume. But also, you want something bad to happen, that's why you didn't go that way. And if something good happened, you would have went that way for no reason. So an assumption is almost like whether it's a thunderstorm or a leaky roof. It's how you look at it. That's so funny. Shout out to Reoccurring Theme of Life from last week. Or no, from yesterday. But, you know, raindrops for confirmation. I said raindropping. Raindrops keep falling on my head. Alright, I'm halfway outside. It is so funny. It's like pouring down. It looks like it's pouring down. But I'm inside. That makes no sense. Welcome to the Matrix, you guys. Where it rains inside. I gotta get out of here. Help me. Help me. Help you. Get out of here. Alright. But, so yeah. So then, if assumptions are wishes, then validation is dreams come true. When you validate that your wish is right, isn't that a dream come true? You know, when you get out of the way of negativity, is that not a dream come true? Are you not able to dream more? If you assume this car might get into a car accident and the car, so you don't go that way, then come find it was a huge crash and you avoided it, but you're able to walk away from that. To dream, you're able to dream further. You walked away. You know, like, is that not a dream come true? You know? But that's why it's careful. Be careful to, you know, what you assume. Because if you assume that car accident happened and it happened, did you cause that? Not saying you caused it. But if enough people, energy is focused on a car accident, then bam, you know? Alright. Now, assumption versus validation. You know, just be careful what you assume. Definitely check out my poem, Assumption versus Validation. I think I'm going to keep these out for the next reading, actually. And now it's time for So Long. But I'll sing just one more song. Thanks for doing your part. You're sure smart. You know, with me and you and my boy Lou, and you can do anything that you want to do. I love you. I love me. I love us. I love we. Talk to you later. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.